Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, we are going to be going over the matches from the previous weekend, doing some predictions for the final week of qualifiers for Major 3, talking about some unfortunate news regarding the guard in esports and in COD in general, talking about some Major 4 news, some overall news, ranked play updates, our thoughts on some of the talks around the community and ranked play as a whole. And then we're going to get you guys out of here. And look forward to next week when we get the major and we do our major predictions. If you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. We're about 75 subs off of that 1,000 goal that we set before the start of the season. And then if you guys are on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review on there. We've been mentioning the last few weeks that views are slow on YouTube this time of year for COD. However, it's like the forgotten child over there on the audio platforms on like Spotify and Apple Podcasts and stuff like that. It seems to be like, we're more focused on YouTube sometimes, but the last 2 episodes on audio platforms have broken each other's record. The one from 2 weeks ago broke our record for the most listens, and then the one from this previous week broke that record for the most listens. So the audio platform seems to be thriving while YouTube is struggling at this time of year and the algorithm's struggling. So shout out to you guys that are listening over there on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, on any other platform. Thank you guys so much for that. And Brock, let's dive into it. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Besides the weather in Wisconsin's pretty terrible. But yeah, typical. Other than that, no, doing pretty good. Ranked play's fun for the most part.
Yeah, we got like a foot of snow last week, and I thought we were done. And then all of a sudden, I was talking to my dad, and he's like, "Yeah, we're getting another snowstorm on Monday." And then this storm wasn't even like a snowstorm until like about an hour ago. It was literally just freezing rain.
Yeah,
like
it started sleeting now.
Yeah, it sounded like it was like pouring outside when it was hitting my window, and I'm like, is it raining? And then nope, it's just freezing rain, hits the ground, turns into slush, makes it impossible to drive. So it's not a fun time.
Yep.
All right, let's dive into this. We're gonna start with the bad news, the negative news, get it out of the way, so we can
bad news
talk about more positive stuff for the rest of the podcast. But the first news, I think it's been the big news in the talk of a lot of esports in general, but especially in the Call of Duty scene. We've been talking about this a lot. It's the Guard. If you don't know who that is, it's the parent company of like LAG, I believe LA Gladiators in the Overwatch League, right? You know Overwatch League better than I do. And then they also have a Valorant team, and I'm pretty sure they're in a maybe League. They're in a few other esports. I know that for sure. I'm not too familiar with many of the ones besides Valorant, Overwatch, and Call of Duty. And they basically just laid off every employee at the esports division of the company, because it is like a division of Cronky, like sports entertainment, I believe they're called, which is, I mean, they own a million things. They own like the Colorado Avalanche. I think they own the Rockies. Maybe they own the Rams for sure. They own like a ton of sports teams. Arsenal, I think.
Maybe.
They own like a ridiculous amount of sports teams.
Yeah.
Cronky, Stan Cronky, ridiculously wealthy owner. And they basically just laid off every single employee. It seems like without warning. It seems like they weren't even helping them to get new jobs like you're supposed to do in a situation of just laying somebody off. And it just sucks, because not only does it suck for obviously the standpoint of the CDL and the future of whatever esports they're in, but more so and more importantly, it sucks for the people that were all laid off, no notice. A lot of these people were tweeting about how they like moved their family out to LA like a month ago to start this new job, and now they just moved out there, maybe rented an apartment, maybe even bought a home, and now all of a sudden they're just out of a job.
Yeah,
without notice.
Yeah, it's just not what you're gonna want.
Yeah, it's not an ideal situation. I just like, I don't understand it. It doesn't seem to be like a money issue. I'm sure from like what we heard like Zinni and Scump talking about, it sounds like it was like a situation of they were dumping so much money into all their rosters, and what the way esports is, a lot of organizations aren't seeing return on their investment. Yeah, and most, or if not all of them, are losing money. But you kind of come into esports and like these franchise leagues knowing that right away you're probably not going to be turning a profit. You're more in it for the long game. So I don't really respect organizations that come in, dump a bunch of money, and then just leave all their employees out to dry.
Yeah, literally just say, see ya.
Because like you don't come into esports thinking you're going to make millions and millions of dollars right away. It's not like it's a sports organization like the NBA or NFL that's been established for years and years and years and years, and it's just a cash cow. Like esports is in its infancy right now. You can't really expect to just be making boatloads of cash right away. It's more of a, you get in early for maybe what would be considered a high buy-in price now, but in the long term, you're hoping it grows to like an NBA where it's got ridiculous profit, where you bought the team for $20 million or $25 million or whatever it was at the start, and all of a sudden you're hoping eventually that you get those sports franchise valuations where they're worth millions and millions, if not billions, at some point way down the road.
Yeah, they want the profit now, which just doesn't happen in esports for now.
Yeah, and I kind of agreed with like what a lot of I heard people saying was honestly a lot of the people probably don't have that much of like a visual on how the esports division is doing because they have teams like the Rams and Arsenal and massive franchises that are way bigger than the LA Gorillas to run, and those teams are making billions of dollars and they probably don't even notice. Then all of a sudden, like, you know, the LAG and esports expenses, you know, maybe they like lost like $1 million the first year, then all of a sudden they lost like 3 million, and I mean these numbers are completely made up, but just like to show the scale, maybe all of a sudden they lost 10 million. Like every year, it just like was multiplying how much money they were losing. And eventually, somebody looked at it like higher up in the organization. They're like, "What are we doing? Like, why are we losing all this money when we have all these sports teams that are so profitable?"
Yeah.
So from like a business standpoint, I guess if you don't want to be in that long term and you're losing money, it makes sense why you'd cut ties. But just it kind of rubbed me the wrong way the way they did things. And now we got questions all about, you know, what's going to happen with all their esports teams going into next season.
I know that is true. I also feel like the guard and LEG, they're pretty popular.
Yeah, and
among esports teams.
Yeah, they like hired all kinds of like what were supposed to be like top tier people in their field. Like from what everybody was saying, they hired like a crazy content team and like editors and, you know, camera crew and all those people to film content, and like they're producing content. So now obviously all that goes away because they have no employees, and it is an odd situation. I feel incredibly bad. That's like the main thing to take away. You feel really bad for all the people that just lost their job out of nowhere. But I wonder what it else says for the future of the CDL, you know, with a buyer probably having to come in for them. You already heard, like, what's his name? Lando Norris, who is an F1 driver, is apparently interested in buying a team and has been for some time and would want to move him to Spain. Then you've got people like Tim the Tatman, who's a partial owner of Complexity, wanting to get them back in the league. So there are a lot of candidates, but you'd rather have them come with expansion, not at the expense of hundreds of people's jobs.
Yeah. And the team is already established.
Yeah, but it's a very unfortunate situation, but we can move on. Just figured we had to talk about that because it was kind of the big news of the week. I guess we kind of have one more thing that is like, what are they doing negative before we jump into more? Major 4. This happened after we recorded the last podcast. We haven't had a chance to talk about it, but it's happening in Columbus now with no fans. Obviously, we heard like way early on in the year that it was not going to happen in New York anymore. And then we didn't really hear much else about it. And now we've been told it's happening in Columbus with no fans. And from what Den's tweeted about how Boston would have liked to host it again, doesn't even seem like maybe it was even brought up to teams to potentially host it, because I would like to assume that OpTic probably would have loved to host it at their esports arena in Dallas.
Yeah, literally.
Sounds like Boston would have liked to host it. I'm sure there might be a few other teams that wouldn't have minded hosting it. But it seems very odd. We're going to play without fans. That is a major, major, major L.
Yeah, just like the Pro-Am last year.
Yeah, it's just not as fun. Even when you're watching at home, it's not as fun. We don't hear like the crowd roaring after a nice play or something.
I know, it's not what you're gonna want. But it's unfortunate for that too.
Yeah, it's a mess. I don't understand what they're thinking. Like, live events seem to be one of the ways that they can actually make money as a CDL, which they seem so, you know, like anxious to do and eager to do. And that's one way you can make money. If you're putting in all the money to host the event, you're still gonna have to like pay for the center that you're hosting it at, and, you know, pay all like this massive fee to host it there, and like you're gonna have to pay a lot of staff to get there in order to at least make sure all the equipment's running right and to set it up. So you're still paying a lot to have this. And now you're not getting the return on investment of people being able to buy passes and buy food there and all that stuff. So you're spending money to get the venue, then not taking any from getting fans and stuff in there. It just makes no sense. Also, merchandise sales that would happen on that weekend if they set up booths, like, you're losing a lot of money by not having fans there if you're going to host it.
Yeah, definitely.
Makes absolutely zero sense. But welcome to the CDL. A lot of things don't make sense that they do.
Welcome. Enjoy your stay.
Yeah. All right. Now we can get off the stupid negative stuff and we can get back to things we want to talk about. Ranked play. Want to give a little update on our progress on ranked play, what our thoughts are still. Then we're going to talk about some things we've heard people like on reverse sweep, the flank, you know, even like the OpTic watch party. We heard some people talking about stuff that we both have pretty strong opinions on, I think. So we'll get to that. But ranked play thoughts, we're a week or two in now, and I still feel like it's a very good rank play system. You know, we were talking about how bad this would have been if it would have came out in BO4. Not bad, like the system would have been bad, but we would have been playing an insane amount if this came out in like BO3 or BO4 and they had this good of a system. We would have been top 250. I mean, we were both like our squad in Black Ops 3, like on the leaderboards, we were like in the top 50.
Yeah.
Like towards the end of the life cycle, we were in the top 50 in like the leaderboards unranked. In like every category. So we like grinded that game despite it having a terrible rank system. BO4, same thing. We were like always at the top of our ladders, just grinding. Despite that game also having a terrible rank system. So that would have been dangerous. But this system's incredible. We're both what now? I didn't get to play as much as you right away. You're what in Diamond 3?
Diamond 2.
Diamond 2. And I'm about to be in Diamond 2. I'm like a few hundred SR off. So no, I haven't been able to play a ton that first week, which kind of hurt me and got me behind. But you know, we're both on the road. I think within like a week, you and I both might be in Crimson potentially.
I would say
or at least decently close. We'll be on our way.
Yeah, depending on who we play with.
Yeah, that's a factor. We got a good 3, but then you know sometimes our 4th could be a little shaky.
Yeah, but overall should be approaching Crimson, I would say, by next week.
Yeah, our goal was like Crimson, maybe Iridescent. I think top 250 is going to be pretty damn hard to hit just because like top 250, obviously there's a massive skill involved. Like you have to be insanely good to get up there, but also like, first of all, there's cheaters. So that hurts your chances of getting up there because how many of the people in the top 250 are cheating, but also it's a lot about time. Like there are streamers and everybody that's playing or challenger players that are playing a lot more. And like, even if you're better than them, they just, I mean, they have, if they put in 8 more hours a day than you, they're just bound to get more SR. If they're relatively, even if they're worse than you, they're bound to get more SR because they're playing an extra 8 hours a day. So the odds that they win a bunch more games to get more SR in there are pretty high compared to you, where you basically have to go perfect. But you know, our goal, Crimson, maybe Iridescent. Speaking of playing with 3 and 4 people, though, you want to talk about this?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So on the flank, you know, on the reverse sweep, on the OpTic podcast, I hear them, a lot of them complaining about like 4 stacking and saying you shouldn't even be able to 4 stack in these games. They're talking about how in Valorant, once you hit like a certain rank, you should only be able to 2 stack. And I'm passionate about this. I could not disagree with everybody more. And I don't even care what their argument is because the only argument I can hear is the one that Parasite mentioned on the reverse sweep was where he said there should be a separate playlist for 4 stacking. I can get on board with that. But if they took 4 stacking out of the game, I might not even play Call of Duty anymore. And that's not because I don't like duo queuing or whatever. Like if you and I are going to play, I don't mind it. But like half the fun of playing games for me is when we get a full squad. Like we all suck at Valorant. We all just started playing keyboard and mouse this year, and we got to like silver. And like, because it was our first keyboard mouse game ever, but I didn't have that much fun when I was playing with randoms because I just like playing. Like, that's what I enjoy doing, getting on with a squad of 5 of like you, me, 3 of our friends, just playing and, you know, like screwing around and doing that. Same thing on COD ranked. I like getting on with a squad of 4, you know, playing, having full communication because I'm not a challenger player. That's the only time like I get to play with 4. I get if you're in the top 250, why you maybe don't want that because you don't want to be forced to 4 stack.
Yeah.
In order to play, but like then you got to make a separate playlist for people to 4 stack because if they took 4 stacking completely out, it would be the dumbest thing ever.
Literally did that. They did that in World War II for like the longest time.
Yeah, I remember that. It was like you could only like solo. Was it only you could solo, duo, and 4?
I thought it was
you
just
can play with 3 for a while.
I thought it was dual queue for a while.
Yeah, and it makes no sense because like if I'm not a challenger player, like you and I will get to like Diamond, Crimson, potentially Iridescent. Like we're pretty far up there. We're definitely not the level of pro or like top challenger or anything, but like we'll get pretty high up there. But like if I was like a gold player, I can't imagine like not being able to 4 stack. Like that'd take all the fun out of it. Like I'm not that good. I just want to get on and play with my friends like casually. Like if you're just like a casual group of 4 and you're like, let's try a rank, but you're only like a silver level player. And then you load up and you're like, oh, well, we can't play with our group of 4. Sorry.
Yeah,
especially because like a lot of people probably getting into COD like younger, you are playing with all your friends from school. You probably got a group of 10 people that you play with. You whittle it down to 4. You're for the first time ever you see ranked player. Like, let's try this out. Like it's your first time playing COD. You're probably a bronze player or a silver player. Like you might want to play with that 4 stack and hop into ranked, but then it tells you can't, just deterred from ranked for life then because you can't play with the squad. Like it makes no sense. I get it. Like I said, at the top 250, maybe you split it up and say you can only 4 stack in this playlist and you can only 1, 2, or 3 stack in this playlist, but I can't imagine where there's no 4 stack.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. I play solo sometimes, and like if someone doesn't calm, it's chalked. Especially this year with the no red dots, or people start yelling at you if you don't get kills and all that. It's not fun playing like without 4. I would say.
Yeah, and even if like it sucks when your teammates aren't calming, but even like from our perspective, like you and I don't play challenges. None of our friends play challenges. None of us are trying to go pro. We play ranked play because we really enjoy. First of all, we're all competitive people and we enjoy doing something competitive, but also just because we like playing with 4 of us and like we're not playing challengers, so like we like playing with the same 4 and seeing what progress we can make from the start of the year to the end of the year, just like a challengers team would be, but we're not playing challengers. So like all these pros might not want people to 4 stack because they have their team of 4 that they get to make progress with like day by day, but like we don't have that because we're not playing challengers. So like stay away from our 4 stacks. Let us 4 stack, let us play our games. Like they really want to make a separate playlist, okay, go ahead, but let us 4 stack. Stay away from them. Don't touch them.
Yeah, literally just the team camaraderie of the 4 just is different.
Yeah, and it's just more fun to play that way.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they'd feel the exact same way if they weren't pro players and constantly, because I understand 100%. Like if I'm solo queuing in the top 250 and running into a team that I saw playing today of Shotzzy, Hydra, Skies, and Attach, I'm going to lose full if I'm solo queuing with no cobs and having to play that team. Like I get the frustration, but got to see it both ways.
Yeah, then you just go pick up your 4 real quick.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much it for news, though. It's pretty limited news right now. It's not really like a roster change period, so we don't have a lot of those rumors going on. And without CDL intel, he hasn't really been posting as much. And like he said earlier in the year, like he kind of is like taking a step back from doing all the rumor stuff. We don't get as much random rumors throughout the year about who teams are looking at like we used to in the past. So it's a little more quiet on that front throughout the season. But let's talk about some matches from this previous weekend. Maybe not going to dive into all of them. I kind of like the way we did last week where we dove into individual teams here and there and talked about their weekend, and then we'll do our predictions for this coming weekend. But to start out, let's talk about Atlanta Faze first. Interesting weekend from them, but I feel like we don't have a lot to talk about with them because their weekend consisted of playing Ravens in Vegas. Didn't get to see them play like a top team, but they handle business. They go 6-1 map count, although that London series was very close. That was one of the closest 3-0s I've watched in quite some time. It was like every single map, London had a chance to win it and just couldn't close out a map. They lost 250 to 229 in the hard point, 6-5 in the search, and then 3-2 in the control, and they were even closer than like those scorelines show that they're close, but every map they had a chance to win, and they just lost it. So Faze, impressive to at least close out close maps regardless of who it's against.
Faze clutching up.
Yeah, and then I guess we could talk about London this weekend as well in this match. Obviously, they fall to a Faze 3-0, which like you see 3-0, you're like, yeah, I expected that. But like we said, maps are close. And then they do take out LAG, who's another bottom team, but it came down to, game 5, round 11. And they close them out. So Faze, unless you have anything on them, we can just say, they're Faze. They're a top contender. They took care of business.
Yeah, Faze. I believe Faze broke the search record?
Yeah, S&D win streak record. That was also held by Slasher.
Yep, he broke his own record.
We witnessed like all of those maps because they were basically all at Major 2.
Yeah. I got really nothing for Faze. Just they moving, they in form. Watch out.
Yeah, 100%. I could not agree more. They're in form like we expected them to be. And then on the side of London, you got anything else? Like I said, they beat LAG in a game 5, and what a lot of people were calling one of the best worst series of the year because it was just mess up after mess up, but it was entertaining because it made like a lot of the maps close and entertaining. It was like so bad that it was good because both teams are making so many mistakes that it was just close. But
I saw a thing someone tweeted, the battle of the mid.
Yeah, and it's probably lower than mid because these are maybe the 2 worst teams in the league. But on the side of London, they win 3-2. Asim was battling the series. He had like a towel over his shoulder, wiping his face. I think he was like really sick or something. He had a 0.6 in the win. And Scraps had a pop-off series. Obviously, he led the lobby in damage, just a little bit behind Joe Deceives, I guess, in damage. Was second in the lobby, but led his team in damage and had a 1.22. And they looked pretty good in this series, although I guess my takeaway for London,
not too much.
they improved, I guess I'll say. because they did look good against Faze. So I'll say they improved, but I still don't see them being able to make any noise going forward.
Yeah, they did win, which doesn't happen too much for them right now.
Yeah, which is more than we can say. Regardless of who they beat, they did win, which is a rare occurrence for them.
And they didn't need an ASIM masterclass to win, like they usually do.
They actually had the opposite of an ASIM masterclass.
Yeah, he got carried under the weather, but yeah. Scrap did pretty good, 1.22 for the series. Good for him.
Yeah, good to see him popping off again because I hope he's able to stay around on a roster because he's an entertaining player. Let's talk about another team I want to talk about. Let's talk about Toronto Ultras weekend. Probably the best weekend of any team. They played two teams that we would consider to be, our contending teams in the contender category in Texas and the New York Subliners, OpTic Texas and the New York Subliners, and they 3-0'd them both. They were both kind of in dominant fashion, but particularly the OpTic one, they just wiped the floor with OpTic. That wasn't even a series. It was dominant, a 250 to 124 win. On the hard point, a 6-5 close search where OpTic kind of blew it. The OpTic was up 5-2 on that map, and they blew it on Bagra, and then 3-0 smoke show on Hotel Control, and they 3-0 him pretty quick series. And Toronto, they 3-0 Subliners. Who was it in that series? Or no, that's what I was thinking of with the series. And that map won. Toronto was up like 240 to like 140 or whatever it was. Like they were blowing them out. And New York almost made like the most crazy comeback. They just like didn't die for like 2 straight minutes. But Toronto was able to close it out 250 to 235. But overall, Toronto, you got to say, probably the best weekend of any team. 6-0 in OpTic in New York.
Yeah, 6-0 in two top teams. But I want to see them do it on LAN.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the case until they do it on LAN.
Yep.
Pretty much everyone. But it is, regardless of on LAN or online, to 6-0 two teams that like we would consider OpTic and New York probably contenders to win Major 3.
Mm-hmm.
And Toronto 3-0'd them both. Yeah. So that's an impressive weekend any way you cut it. Thoughts? Is Hecz kind of a main catalyst for this?
I honestly, I kind of forgot Hecz was in there. And I thought I just somehow just glazed over it, but he must be the, I don't know. It's like the Bance or something.
He is. He's like a Bance. He's a glue guy. I do see like he has moments where like he pops a crazy 2-piece and like you see his talent stick out, but like in the OpTic series, he has a 0.92, which you might not think is the best, whatever. But Scrappy at a 1.43, Kleenex at a 1.33 in that series. Like he's opening the map for those guys. In the second series, he only had a 0.71 against New York, but Insight had a 1.2, Kleenex had a 1.2. Like he's just opening up the map, and like that's what the players are explaining. Like his comms are excellent according to the players, and you can hear it in listen-ins. And also like he's just opening up the map. Like he does every little dirty work thing, so he allows Kleenex to be unlocked more. And we have known for years and years and years since we saw him at Black Ops 4 Champs that Kleenex has like top 5 sub potential, but it's been a consistency factor with him. And now for the past few matches, he's looked extremely good because Hecz is maybe allowing him to just roam free, where before Kleenex had a lot of dirty work to do, and he had a lot of roaming subs playing with him, where like he'd be the entry man and Bance would kind of be the roaming dirty work sub with him. They kind of traded off, which is why they work so well together. But then like with Standy, Kleenex was kind of going in first. Standy was the route man,
Yeah.
Now you get to see him with Hecz, a guy that'll go in first and do the dirty work for him, and Kleenex gets to roam. And no shock to me, at least, he's dropping 1.2s.
She's the issue.
Yeah.
All I gotta say is game 3 of Toronto versus OpTic. Dashy dropped 5.
Yeah, Dashy was struggling in this match though. Like every map, he went 10-7 in the search. He was hitting some snipes. If I remember. Oh no, I'm thinking of their second series, but he was playing okay in the search, but the hard point in the control, it was rough out there. I mean, Dashy he like, especially on the hotel, was it the hard point? I don't remember what map it was. It was both maps. I mean, both respawns were on hotel, but it seemed like every gunfight he got in, he was like getting joked. Like he'd make a guy 1 bullet die, 1 bullet die, 1 bullet die. And it was like, it didn't feel like he was playing that bad, but obviously he was. He overall in the series dropped to 0.63, probably the worst KD we'll see from Dashy in quite some time.
An off day.
Yeah, but it just seemed like, it was an off day for him. And that's not to take credit away from Toronto. Obviously, they earned this win. Dashy just being slightly off did not cause them to get smoked. Like it was more than that. They just were the better team.
Yeah.
But Toronto, impressive. Let's talk about OpTic since we started to talk about them. They had an up and down weekend. Obviously, we've talked about the Toronto series. We don't have to talk about that too much more. But then they came out and they did the exact opposite against a Minnesota Rocker team who is mightily struggling right now. OpTic came out and they smoked them 3-0, 250 to 111 in the hard points, 6-1 in the search, and then a 3-2 control, which is misleading because it was a fortress control, which is basically a guaranteed 3-2.
Yeah.
But that map was pretty dominant as well.
It was like a 30-minute series.
Yeah, and the control was dominant. Like you look at the numbers across the board, OpTic dominated that control. It's just a fortress, so it's like it's not if you 3-1 somebody on fortress, that's dominant.
Yeah, it's auto log 2 basically.
Yeah,
but yeah, OpTic's looking, good bounce back win.
yeah, 100%. I'm a little concerned with that Toronto series, but it could have just been an anomaly, I guess. People were really concerned with Ghosty, but in this series, he looked pretty good. He had a 1.16. He sounded very good in the comms. His damage numbers are way lower than everybody else on the team, though, which might be a little concerning. His engagements are also even lower than Dashy's. I'm a little concerned by that. That's something to watch going forward, but his communication sounded very good. He's settling into the team, might take some time. He flashed his talent this weekend, though. Dashy pulled the sniper in the second S&D there, the CeeLo S&D. Interesting to see because, we saw early in the year, Illy was always sniping. We thought Ghosty might snipe. So I'm interested to see how that wrinkle plays going forward because they were talking about it on broadcast. Like, it would be very interesting to see a team that switches snipers in mid-game. Like, you have Dashy sniping, so whenever you see Dashy, you think he's going to have the sniper in a certain position, but then the next round you switch it up and Ghosty's got it over on the other side of the map. Like, it could be an interesting dynamic to switch it up, or they could run the patent Brock special, the double sniper meta.
Oh, what you know about the double sniper meta?
Hey, that's your thing.
Yeah, that's me and Josh's thing.
Yeah. Attach also joined the agency in this one.
He did. He joined the donut club.
Yeah. I actually misread something. Like there was a stat earlier. It was like Attach joined the agency with like 3 other players, but the way it was worded and how I was just reading it quickly as I was scrolling, it made it sound like Attach joined it for the 4th time this season. I was like, there is no way Attach has 4 donuts. He's too icy to have that. And I was like, I read it again and I was like, okay, I read it wrong. He's the 4th player to have a donut. But like the first time I saw it, I thought it said he had 4, and I was like, there is no way.
If he had 4, maybe that's why they're struggling.
Yeah, but I guess let's talk about them too. We're just kind of flying through teams, but Rocker, man, we only got to see him in the one match this weekend, but they got smoked. They're now 0-3 in qualifiers, and their sets of losses aren't like the most forgiving losses either. Like they lost to Subliners and Surge, who are pretty decent teams. Obviously, like Subliners are a top team. Surge seem to be hitting form again. And then they lose to OpTic, but like you want to at least see them show signs of life. Versus like Surge, they got smoked, and then versus OpTic, they get smoked. Like they're coming off a top 4 finish or a top 3 finish, so like we would expect them to show signs of life, and they're not. They're just getting rolled.
Yeah, just the consistency is just why can't they be consistent?
It doesn't make any sense.
I know it's can't be struggling.
I mean, like going back here on this stage, they lost the search to New York 6-1 and 6-5. So on that series, it was a 12-6 round count, and they lost 6-1 in the search against Surge and against OpTic. So I mean, what does that make them? That makes them 18. What it was 12-6. Yeah. They lost both 6-1, so that's another 12-2. So they're 24 round losses to what is that? 6 there, and then 2 this week, so 8. 24 round losses. They're 8-24 in search rounds.
Yeah, that's just not gonna cut it for this team.
On a team, I know different rosters, but their bread and butter has always been search and destroy.
Yeah.
And when I look at this roster, they should be good at respawn, but I mean, ideally with players like Cammy, Attach, Bance, and then an opener like Afro, you should be at least a middle of the pack search team, at least.
Yeah, you don't have to be the best.
But they shouldn't be the worst. You shouldn't be getting smoked by Surge, who for the longest time was setting records of how bad they were at search.
Literally, 0-11.
Yeah, I mean, this Rocker team, as much as we want to have hope for them, and I mean, I have their skin in game.
There is hope.
I'm a Rocker guy, but man, it's getting harder and harder to have hope for them.
They're little animals.
Maybe they got like last at the first LAN though.
That one didn't count. It was the first time they all played together.
All right.
But maybe it's time for a coaching change potentially.
It's been time for a coaching change for a long time.
Yeah,
They've sucked overall, besides one major where they had a crazy comeback.
Yeah, the craziest
to win
comeback.
5 straight maps. Besides
Mhm.
one major where they did that, and they did decent at champs after that, they've been awful. Apart from that, and they've had the same coach the whole time. I mean, I can't remember if they had Brian Saint and MW, but I know you didn't watch MW a ton because of how bad that game was. But oh my god, Minnesota started the year like pretty good, and they made like a final, and then they went on a streak. I swear to God, for 3 months they didn't win a match. They had like ASIM and GodRx, and they eventually benched GodRx for Exceed. But I can't remember if Brian Saint was still the coach at that time, like in MW. I'm pretty sure he was, but it was the most horrendous thing. Like I remember in MW, they had a streak where they literally like it was like, oh, Minnesota's playing. I mean, that was a lock. It was like every week you just pick against them, and that was your guaranteed like lock.
Ease.
They were so bad, and I'm pretty sure he was the coach then. And besides that one, like imagine if they don't win that one major, imagine his tenure.
Yeah.
Like imagine if they just get closed out 5-0 in that final.
It'd be looking a little different, I think, right now.
Everybody would be questioning how he has a job. I don't get it.
Yeah. He's holding on to the one turn you win.
Yeah. What other team you want to touch on now? I want to talk about little LA Thieves action from this weekend. They had an impressive weekend, a weekend that I needed to see out of them, and now I'm starting to regain my faith in them.
The Thieves?
Yeah, they take out Seattle 3-1, which we both picked Seattle in that match, and we thought it was a trap match for them, but they took them out after taking out Faze last week. So LA Thieves on a little good run here, taking out Seattle, which wouldn't have been as impressive a little bit ago, but Seattle has started to pick it up and look okay in the split.
I definitely, they were locked in that day, I guess. These were.
Yeah, Kenny had a very good series. I remember in that map 1, Kenny was like the only guy shooting back. He dropped to 1.4 in the map 1, 25 and 18. The rest of his teammates, 11 and 20 for Draza, 11 and 22 for Octane, 15 and 27 for Envoy. I remember watching that map, and there was like one point where Kenny had like 20 kills, and the rest of his team was below 10.
Jesus.
He was the only one awake for map 1, and then they came out and won 3 straight. It was a close set of maps, though. And accuracy at a 0.7 in the series, which caused a lot of people to come out and call him out, and then we can talk a little bit, unless you have anything to say about Thieves. Like, just a good win from them to see them beat
a
Faze
good
and
online
a resurgent Surge team.
Yeah, a good online win for them. Usually they like to troll online sometimes.
Yeah, usually they just like to not try.
Yeah, not locked in, but they're there. Good for them.
Absolutely. And then on the side of Surge, what I was going to mention with them is, accuracy getting roasted on Twitter, and then people came to his defense. They lose, some decently close maps. It wasn't a terrible series for them against them. It was a winnable series, just didn't close things out. And then later on, they play Florida, and accuracy had a little bit better of a series, was around a 0.9. Had a couple good maps here. They lost map 1. And then come back, accuracy had a very good control. He was popping at moments there and had a 1.5 in that map, and then had some nice hill time at a 1.1 almost in the final map. The hard point where they kind of smoked him on Embassy. But overall, on Twitter, we see Pred, Sib, their coach Phoenix, defending the man, saying like, you don't know what he brings to a team and all that, which, you and I have been preaching for a long time. Do we think there are players that could replace accuracy, be better on the team? Absolutely. And we've spoken about that. But at the same time, to discount accuracy and say that he is a terrible player is just not true. Like we said, why do we think Pred came into the league and dominated from the start? One, mostly because of his talent. He has crazy talent, but Lamar definitely played a part in that. Accuracy definitely played a part in Sib and Pred coming in and, having such a fast jump start to their career when they were able to learn from somebody as smart and fundamental about the game as accuracy. Like, he plays a part in this roster. Is he the best main AR in the league? No, nobody's saying that. But people like to slander him like he is the absolute worst. Like, brings a lot to a team, and that's maybe the reason we're seeing Seattle improve on top of obviously Sib and Pred playing like MVPs.
Yeah, I fully agree. Accuracy is just literally the Draymond of the Warriors.
Hey, all the superstars around him, but like randomly he'll make that big play.
Yeah.
It is like equivalent to Draymond too, because Draymond's big plays come through like dirty work, a steal, a hustle play, a good pass, fighting for an extra rebound or something, which is kind of like accuracy's COD game. Like,
Yeah.
Kill time, dropping a .9, dirty work, sitting in the hill for you, sitting on an objective, camping a heady, getting a rotation, like dirty work stuff that doesn't show up in the stat sheet.
Yeah. He'll get in the hill, he'll go, yo, Pred, go kill.
Yeah. Other thing with Pred though in the Seattle team, like I saw a thing today arguing like should he be the MVP? It was like he's top 3 in literally every stat category you can count. My thoughts are we're going to need to see Seattle be a lot better. They're currently the 8th seed on the fringe of making champs and haven't made much noise since they finished second at the first major. So like to me, I'm gonna say we need to see Seattle probably win an event or get a lot more top 2s and work their way into like the top 4, top 5 teams. Probably because it's tough to give MVP to a guy on a non-contending team.
Yeah.
Do I think Pred is an MVP candidate? 100%. Could he win MVP? 100%. But just based on criteria of, what people would normally say it has to be a contending team, he probably doesn't qualify, but he certainly is playing like one.
Definitely. 7 Pred go crazy.
What else you got on them? Anything else you want to move on?
Not really. They did lose, but they did beat Florida.
Yeah, and let's talk about Florida. We don't have too many more teams to talk about. I don't really. There's a few teams I don't even like LAG. I don't really care to talk about them anymore. We can talk about teams like Boston and Florida. Vegas kind of lumped them all up. But I guess let's do that. Let's talk about that like grouping of teams. The Florida, Boston, Vegas grouping of teams. Florida this weekend, they come out, get an impressive win over Boston 3-1, and then obviously, like we just talked about, lose to Surge 3-1. Vegas lost to Faze in a 3-1 fashion. Played them relatively competitive, that first map, and then got rolled off the face of the earth the final few maps.
Yeah.
And Boston, like we said, they 3-0'd LAG and lost to Florida. So overall, those grouping of teams that are kind of in our could they contend maybe category, but they're more towards the bottom. Boston impressed me. I'm looking forward to what they can do on land. The loss to Florida is tough, but they've shown me enough flashes. They're a growing team.
Mm-hmm.
On the side of Florida, I'm impressed with what I saw. Like a win over Boston was good. They were at least able to stay competitive with Seattle. I think this Florida team has some potential to be like a dark horse coming up at the next major, depending on where they finish. Unfortunately for them, they're probably going to be in losers bracket.
Yeah.
But I think they have like dark horse potential because Capsule and Havoc can pop off and outplay some sub duos on the right day.
Mm-hmm.
And Fellow brings a lot of intangibles. I think this team sucks at search right now, but I see how they can improve. And like if they improve their search, they have enough talent to steal a respawn. Like they could become the Neslo team again at this tournament.
Yeah, definitely. Brack's pretty steady main AR.
Yeah, absolutely. And he has his pop off moments as well. But like the main thing for that team is that sub duo. I do think Capsule and Havoc, for a team paying the minimum, is almost as talented of a sub duo as you can get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for paying that. Definitely.
Yeah. Like if you're telling me that you're going to pay the minimum and you told me your subs were going to be Cap and Havoc, I'd be like, okay, you somehow finessed a pretty good sub duo while paying the minimum.
I'll take that for the price.
Yeah, like is it the best sub duo in the league? No, absolutely not. If you were telling me you were paying like one of the highest in the league, I'd say you're faded. Why are you paying that? But like considering that those two are probably likely on the minimum or close to it, I mean, Capsule, I could argue you could put him on a top 4 team, the right players, and I think that they could win events. Like I think Capsule is that good. I'm that high on him, and I also think Havoc. We really like to bash him for the joke on land, but Havoc's a pretty good player, especially on the minimum. Like he's a winning player. You can win with Havoc on your team. But yeah, that's about all I've got for matches on the weekend. We didn't maybe touch on every team as much as we'd like to, but it's tough. You don't want to make the podcast go forever.
Yeah, it was just a trap game for Boston against Florida because Capsule revenge tour.
Yeah.
Really
also,
unlucky.
Can we talk about how on Friday it was 3 3-0s. On Saturday it was a 3-0 and 3 3-1s, and then Sunday it was a 3-0, a 3-1, and then finally a map 5 in the Toilet Bowl series. Ravens versus LAG. Absolutely like no map 5s this split. Even in the first set, the first game we had 1, 2, 3 map 5s, and then this weekend we had 1. So 4 map 5s out of 15 plus matches.
Yeah.
Not a lot of map 5s. It's just interesting because usually in a Vanguard or an MW2 where skill gap is maybe very limited, you see a lot of matches just go to a map 5.
Yeah. Vanguard is game 5 every day, every match.
So interesting to see. Maybe we're seeing some separation between teams, that a lot of the better teams or certain teams are tending to close things out in 4 or less.
It's good to see.
All right, let's dive into predictions. Our final thing for the weekend. We got an update on the score. Brock, you're blowing your lead that you had. You had a decent lead.
LAG.
Heading into the weekend. Yeah, LAG, your allegiance to LAG is really screwing you over. You were up 9-3, a 6-point lead. We remind you guys every week, but how we do it is we pick a team, we pick the series count, we put either 1 or 2 points on it, and if we get it right, we get the amount of points that we put on it. If we get it wrong, we lose that amount of points. So if you put 2 points on it, it's a higher risk. You gain 2 points for getting it right, but you also lose 2 points for getting it wrong. Puts a little bit more weight onto matches. And then if you get the correct series count for the winning team, you get a bonus point. And then each week we can put 4 points on one match. You can only use one team. So if Brock uses Faze, I cannot use them. Who's ever losing at the time can veto the other person's 4-pointer if they're going to use that team. So last week that was me. Now currently I took the lead. I gained 4 points this week. Brock had a rough one because of LAG. He picked them and lost like 6 points off them alone because he put 4 on one of their matches. You know, the LAG stand. So Brock was at a -3 this week, putting him at 6 for this split, and me at 7. So really close because, I mean, in our other ones, it was a 3-point game going into, or a 6-point game going into the final week of Major 1. For Major 2, it was kind of a blowout. I was up by 10 going into the final week, and I ended up finishing with, I don't think my record will be broken. I finished with 22 in Major 2. And I'm at 7, you're at 6. So we'd have to have an insane week for one of us to break that. We'd have to basically go perfect. But a 1-point game, the closest it's been. I'm up 1 going into this week. That means you have the advantage if you end up wanting to pick, let's say, for an example, a team that we're not going to use. Let's say you wanted to pick London for 4 points, and I ended up picking them for 4 points in the first series. You could veto me and say, no, I'm going to pick them later or something. But yeah, let's dive into predictions. A lot of people were calling this Friday the absolute snoozer weekend of the year for matches. It's an interesting one. We got a lot of the bottom teams, probably our bottom 4 teams are all playing that day. And then even the other 2 teams are, more middle of the pack. First match of the day, we got Seattle versus London. Who you got?
Seattle. Kobe Shaq. Stand no chance.
Needs to be 3-0?
Yeah, 3-0.
Seattle 3-0. Is that a 4-pointer right away? You're just going to get it over with?
I'm trying to look at all these. No. No, don't think I'll do 2 points though. I got an interesting one for my 4-pointer.
I was gonna say usually like Faze is like a lock for 4-pointer, but they only have 1 match this week, and it's not like a lock-in bottom team. They're playing OpTic, so Faze might not get picked for their 4-pointer. I was actually like somewhat thinking of using this as my 4-pointer, and I might go back and use it as my 4-pointer if you use it on the other match I was going to use it on, because I think you will. So like, you're going to put 2 points on this one, you said, with a 3-0 Seattle?
Yeah.
I'm also going to say Seattle, but I want to separate myself in map count. I'm going to give London a map. I'm going to say it's a Seattle 3-1. I'm going to put 2 points on this. If you end up picking my other series that I want to put 4 on, which to me, it seems like the most obvious series to do it, so I think you might, I might come back and change this one to a 4-pointer. Okay. Sounds weird to bet on Seattle like that, but I might come back and change it if you do. But for now, I'm putting 2 points on them. And we're moving on to Minnesota versus Vegas. A little bit ago might have seemed like a lock for Minnesota, but they have struggled. So can they turn around here versus Vegas, or you think Vegas is gonna take them out? I mean, I think right now when I saw it, Vegas is sitting at 8th. They have a chance to be in winners. And I mean, they're 8th, I'm pretty sure, or like right up there. And you couldn't ask for a better situation for Vegas to potentially make it. They're playing a struggling Minnesota team, and then they play LAG. So yeah, Vegas is in 8th right now. They have the inside track to make it to winners bracket. Like if there was ever a time for them to make it to winners bracket, you get a struggling Minnesota, and then you get to play LAG. Like this is their time to make it.
Their time to shine. Let's go clean, Donnie.
Yeah, absolutely. What you got here?
Vegas, baby, 3-2.
I like it. Vegas 3-2.
You
putting 1, 2, 4?
2.
2 points on it. All right. I'm in sync with you so far. I'm also going to go Vegas into 3-2. I'm only going to put 1 point on it, though. I'm going to be a little less confident because I do, always have that random bias towards Minnesota. I like to see. I think we haven't talked about this too much lately, but I think you and I might head down to Madison. We have my college roommate lives in Madison. We might head down to Madison on April 1st. Minnesota's playing a match down in Madison, which is only like an hour or something away from us, like relatively close.
Yeah.
They're playing like that match against like LAG in Florida or wherever they're doing. So we might head on down there, watch that match. We could see Minnesota in person potentially again, but in this series, I'm going Vegas 3-2 as well, only putting 1 point on it. But I don't know. This seems like a trap match. It seems like it's too easy to pick Vegas because of how bad Minnesota's looked. Minnesota might just randomly come out and hit form.
Yeah, who knows? Honestly.
Yeah. Next match. Got an interesting one. It's a battle of two teams that you seem to like a lot. So this is a battle of your boys. Florida versus LAG. LAG is repeatedly screwing you over. While you do this, I'm gonna go back and see how many points you've lost on LAG this year.
I don't think I ever won with LAG.
I actually just hold up. I actually just clicked on Major 1 Week 1, and you picked them to beat Seattle 3-2 in Week 1, and you got it right, map count and everything.
Like I won in me.
Then since then, you picked them wrong against London. You put 8 points on it when we were doing 8 points. You lost. So what? You gained -4 off them total. Then in the next week, you put 8 on them again to 3-0 NYSL. So they got you to -12. Then you picked them to beat Boston, which they did, and you got the map count correct. So that puts you at -10 on them. Then you put 4 points on them the next week to beat Florida. They didn't. So that puts you at -14. Then the next week, let's see. Did you pick against them this week? You finally picked against them, and they won.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Against Minnesota. So you're at -14 if we're not counting your wins. We're saying your wins that you picked them in, but you did pick against them incorrectly that time. Then you picked them finally to lose to Atlanta, so okay, good. But then you picked them to win, and they lost against Toronto, so -15. Then in week 1 of Major 3 here, you picked them to beat OpTic, which they lost to get you to -16. And then last week, you put 2 points on them to beat Boston, which they did not do, to get you to -18. And then you put 4 on them to beat London, which they lost. So in times you've picked LAG to win, they have gotten you -22 points.
Big LAG fan, Stan.
In total on the year, you were at 4. So LAG, if you would have just picked against them correctly every time, you would be like crushing me. But you just repeatedly picked them for whatever reason.
I can't.
Are you gonna do it again?
Yeah.
You're gonna pick them again?
3-2 LAG RCDs. Oh my god.
I think you gotta put 4 points on it just for the culture.
No, I'm putting 4 points on a different culture one. I'll put 2 though.
Okay, fine. I'll put you LAG 3-2, and I'm gonna take Florida. I'm also gonna say 3-2. I think this would be another toilet bowl type match. I'm gonna put 2 on it though. I, for whatever reason, have had a lot of faith in this Florida roster since I saw it form. I just like the idea of this sub duo, and I like the idea of the AR duo. Even I think that they have a lot better comms, and I think they're gonna keep improving. I think it might take a little bit of time, but I just like this sub duo a lot for whatever reason. I'm a big Capsule guy. I like this team. I'm gonna put 2 points on Florida winning 3-2. And let's move it on to Saturday. LIT versus Minnesota. Minnesota, a legit chance to go 0-5 in this split. They could lose to Vegas and LIT. I would not be shocked.
This might be a trap game.
Might be a trap game for which end? LIT?
LIT. I'm picking Minnesota.
All right. What do you? 3-1. Okay.
LIT is going to be rusty on that day for whatever reason. First match. They might troll because it's Minnesota. They're potentially be 0-4 so far.
Yeah. Yep. Desperation mode. They wouldn't even have a chance to make winners at that point. They probably would have a small chance if they win both matches this week, depending on map counts. If they 3-0'd both teams, I would think maybe they'd have a small chance to make it. Wow, what are you going for points here on this one?
I'll do 3-1, and then I'll do 1 point since I've been doing 2 for everyone so far.
Yeah. I'm gonna go opposite of you. I do agree with you that this could be a trap game. I think LAT win this one 3-0. I'm gonna put 3-0. I was gonna say 3-1, but I just noticed we just talked about how many 3-0s have happened, and I've picked 0 3-0s so far. I'm also only going to go 1 point on this one, though, because I do think, like you said, this has trap game written all over it, especially if Minnesota's 0-4. LAT might be overlooking them, maybe trying out map pool stuff if they have their spot in winners basically wrapped up. Could overlook them. Minnesota's still a team with talent despite all the struggles they've had. So I'm a little scared of them, but I'm going to go LAT 3-0, only 1 point because of that trap match nature.
Yep.
Then we move on. Got your boys, Brock. LAG. They're back at it again. Your last chance to put 4 points on them here.
They're back
In this split. And they're playing Vegas. It's a winnable match. LAG has 2 very winnable matches this week. They get to play Vegas and Florida. Going back, I want to go back to that standings tweet. They have 0 points. They're 0-3. But hey, 2 winnable matches this week. You never know what happens to the teams above them. Vegas is one of the teams above them. Possible they claw their way into winners. I think they're still mathematically alive, but probably almost dead. You got them beating. You got to beat an LAG here. Or are you taking your boys LAG?
Oh, you can go first. I'm really debating.
I don't know. It just seems like it's never a good idea to pick Vegas twice in 1 week, which is what I'd be doing if I picked them here. But also, like, picking LIG is always a bad match, aka your -22 that you have on picking them to win this year. Man, I don't know. I'm gonna take Vegas here just because I like them so much more and I want them to win. However, I don't feel good about it at all. So it's gonna be a Vegas 3-2. Vegas Neslos them. And I'm only going to put 1 point on this one as well, just because I just don't feel confident in either of these teams. So putting 1 point feels right.
I'm doing the same exact thing as you. That's what I was thinking before.
You're going to do Vegas 3-2?
Yeah. TJ Halley's too much. Game 5, icing up.
Vegas 3-2. You put in 1 point, 2 points, 4 points?
I put 1 point.
Okay.
I got
Same
LG
thing on
beating
that one.
Florida.
Yeah, that'd be. I mean, it would be pretty characteristic of you actually to just pick them twice because that's what you like to do is just pick LAG.
Yeah. See,
let's move on.
I didn't pick them. Now they'll win.
Oh, probably they'll get smoked by Florida and then like smoke Vegas now that you picked against them.
Yeah.
Let's jump to London versus Toronto though. Who you got in this one? I'm assuming I know who you have in this one, unless you want to pull some crazy upset.
3-0 Toronto. They're diffy on land. Give me 2 points.
Online, you mean?
Yeah, so I meant online, not land.
3-0, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Scrappy online. It's pretty diffy.
All right, you putting 1, 2, 4?
2.
Oh, thank God you saved me. This is the match I thought you were going to put 4 on. I'm putting 4 on this one. Toronto 3-0. I actually don't feel great about them 3-0ing, but like I said, I haven't been picking enough 3-0s for how many are happening, and this seems like a prime candidate. So Toronto 3-0, although I will say London, like I mentioned already, they beat LAG in that toilet bowl, and then they did look really good against Faze. Like, they legitimately could have 3-0'd. Every map was just like right at the brink, and they lost it. So London did look a lot better this week with the role change. Nasty was running an AR, Paul was running a sub, which is an interesting little swap, but they did look very improved. I mean, taking Faze to the brink on every map is not an easy thing to do. They're a very good team. So I'm a little worried London could win maps, but with the way Toronto's looked and London has been so bad all year, it's hard not to put 4 points on them. I thought you were going to do it guaranteed, but I'll go Toronto 3-0 and put 4 on it because the rest of the matches I don't see a very good candidate. OpTic versus New York and OpTic versus Atlanta doesn't have a great candidate. New York and Seattle doesn't seem great. Maybe LAT over Boston, but like none of the matches to me are great 4-pointers. But clearly you saw one you liked because your 4 points is still left.
Yeah.
All right.
Man.
Final match of Saturday. OpTic versus New York. The last 4 matches this weekend are bangers. OpTic New York Seattle, OpTic Faze, and then Thieves Boston. Great matches.
Man. I will take New York 3-1. 1 point.
New York 3-1 with 1 point on it. All right. This is, I mean, as far as the matches from this weekend up to this point, this might be the biggest toss-up to me. I really still like this New York team. I think because of a couple losses here and there, people are starting to really overlook them and their finish at Major 2.
Mhm.
I also think people are starting to overlook OpTic a little bit. I think maybe they're not as much because of the good match they ended on. But they really got smoked against Toronto, and I think that made people start to overlook them. But right now, Hook and Shotzzy. I mean, Hook just had posted his
Damn.
best back to back KDs in the series. Shotzzy had a 1.3. They look incredible on the map together. I think they're only improving, and apparently the scrims look fantastic. And I still have a ton of faith in New York. These are two teams that I really like. I could see making top 4 runs at the major. I'm gonna take OpTic in this series. Gonna say they 3-1. I'm gonna put 2 on it because I do feel confident in OpTic winning. I don't feel super confident in the 3-1. I just like OpTic to win this series, especially because we know their backs are probably going to be against the wall coming into this one. I mean, they are at 7th in the standings at only 20 points. Need to get probably 1 win. Could potentially make it if they lose both matches this weekend in close map counts. But 1 would solidify them in winner's bracket because it would put them at 3 series wins.
Yep.
I'm going to say they win 3-1. It's a tight match, though I don't feel super confident about it.
It'll be a good match to watch.
All right. Then we got those New York boys we just talked about kicking off Sunday against Seattle. Potential banger on the cards here. Hydra versus Pred. Potentially the matchup of the 2 best subs in the league right now.
Mm-hmm.
What you got here?
Kobe and Shaq take over. 3-1. 2 points.
2 points. Still haven't used that.
Kind of get the revenge from the Major 1 loss.
Interesting. I'm going to go the opposite way. I definitely considered picking Seattle. I really like the way that their team looks right now. I'm going to say New York beats them in a 3-1 fashion. I think New York drops map 1 and then takes 3 straight.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to put only 1 point on it because I've been putting, like we said, a lot of 2 points. We got the 4-pointer out there already. I'm going to only put 1 because I do think this is a tight series. Might be a lot of 1-pointers for the rest of these matches because they all do seem very close. Maybe get a little conservative on you. And Sunday would be your swing day because obviously you've got a 4-pointer coming up. So you're going to have a lot more points on Sunday than I am. But I'm going to go New York 3-1. I think this is a tight series, but I think they're just overall the better team and more consistent team. All right. OpTic versus Atlanta, the heavyweight battle, the battle we always like to watch. Who you got?
Yeah, man. This is a OpTic Texas. 3-2.
So you picked them to lose to New York, and
game 5 ice.
3-2. How many points? Is this gonna be your 4-pointer or is the next one?
I'll put 1.
Only 1, so your 4 points is going on Thieves.
Dash, you just go off again like last time.
Think?
Yeah, Dashy's got something on Faze.
I actually have an interesting take on this one. I'm picking Faze to Neslo OpTic.
Oh, okay.
I think Atlanta's going to lose both the hard points, but pull out the series. I'm going to put 2 points on it. Go bold because I like Atlanta. I always say you can never go wrong picking Atlanta and putting your maximum amount of points on them because they win 75+% of their series in the CDL era. They don't lose a lot of them. It's never a bad bet. I do think OpTic certainly has a chance in the series. The one thing I will say is I think OpTic's search is maybe going to take a little bit of time to come around. They've been okay at times in the mode. They looked really good against Minnesota. Blew a big lead against Toronto, but looked very good before they blew the 5-2 lead in that search. So I think they have a lot of potential in search, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time. I mean, they lost Illy, an incredible asset in search and destroy. Maybe take a little bit of time for them to pick it up. So I think
literally
Atlanta, a very good control team, is going to be able to win the control and then squeak out 2 searches. Because even if OpTic's very good at search, Atlanta is literally on the best run of search we've ever seen in the CDL era.
Yeah.
I'm going to go bold and say Faze is going to Neslo them 3-2, putting 2 points on it.
In Atlanta, they got the snaker.
Yeah.
Pink snake.
Yeah, that was that snake on that back truck on Embassy P2 against Clay was just ridiculous. He was just snaking for 30 seconds straight in that gunfight.
Pink snake and the anti-cheat, they say.
Unreal scenes. But our final match of Sunday, LAT versus Boston. You've got 4 points on the line to put on one of these teams. Who are you going with?
LAT 3-0.
Wow.
4 points. Sleep them up.
4 points on it.
Yep.
Okay, I'm kind of gonna look. So on the first day, we only picked LAG and Florida different, so there's a point swing there. We picked 2 matches different on Saturday, so there's potential point swings there. We picked both matches different on Sunday, so big point swings. You know what? I'm gonna make it fun. I'm gonna pick Boston. I'm gonna pick Boston to
Austin.
3. You know what? Screw it. You pick 3-0. I'll pick Boston 3-0. Boston 3-0.
I like
I'll put
it.
1 single point on it. I don't feel confident in it at all. I do think Boston could win. I like the way they look with Beans, and I think they're going to be going all out. Chance to really seal up winners bracket here for both teams most likely. But I like Boston a lot. I have liked this team for a while. I've been talking about it, but Thieves, they tend to overlook teams online, especially in the final match of the final week of qualifiers. Thieves might be really having their eyes on LAN.
Yeah.
And overlooking this online match in Boston, a team that is newly formed is going to be taking every match as serious as it can be. So
Depends
I am
on-
going
depends on
to
the day to day for LAT.
yeah, 100%. They could come out and look like the champs winners, or they could come out and look like LAG instead of LAT.
Yeah.
So Boston 3-0, putting 1 point on it. But we've got a lot of swing matches. I mean, we picked, like I said, 1 match different the first day, 2 different the second day, and all 3 opposite the third day. So definitely going to be probably a pretty wide margin of victory for whoever wins, since we're basically tied coming to this week. I'm only up 1 point. So most likely, unless things go kind of haywire, it's probably going to be pretty lopsided. Unless maybe our matches that were different on split, but there's definitely a chance for somebody to blow somebody out if we get like all of our split matches correct, one of us.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. That's pretty much all we got, unless you got anything else you want to talk about. We went about an hour, so we can get the people out of here in about 60 minutes.
No, not really. Besides, Dollar Dame dropped 71.
Oh my god, yeah, he dropped 71 on our friends Rockets. They suck. Too bad it was a Sunday night Blazers Rockets game in late February, so literally
I ain't
nobody
watching
cared
that.
about it.
Yeah.
It was 2 bad teams playing on a Sunday night of all days in late February, when we kind of already know our playoff teams are the contenders, and neither of those teams are contenders. So yeah, that was unfortunate time for him to drop it. But yeah, Dame's unreal, but he's trapped in Portland.
Yeah, I also saw a tweet. It said, "Will we ever see 100 point in our lifetime?"
You know what? I think we might.
I think it's possible, since Dame shot like 38 times only.
And like, I don't know if it'll be anybody like that's currently in the NBA, but like, I gotta believe that Steph Curry changed the world, and every single kid, all they try to do is shoot threes and perfect the art of shooting threes.
Yeah.
So I gotta believe that like all the kids that are trying to be Steph Curry, one of those dudes is about to drop 100 in like 15 years from now when he's in the league.
Mm-hmm. That was the
drop
insane day.
Yeah, when everybody's coming out shooting like Steph, which I exaggerate because that won't happen. Steph will probably forever be the greatest shooter, or one of the greatest shooters of all time. But yeah, I think it could happen at some point. I mean, Wilt did it shooting only 2s and free throws and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think it could happen at some point. I could see like even like a guy like Luka, if he just gets on fire with that step back. But some people joking that Luka's not in good enough shape to play all 48 and score 100.
Sure he is.
I don't know though. That's a good question. I think we could see it at some point.
Yeah, just need to be the right circumstances within the game.
It's gonna be a different style though. It's not gonna be like the Wilt style of posting people up and dunking on you. It's gonna be some guy launching and hitting 18 threes.
Yeah, it need to be like the Clippers and Kings game, like 170 apiece.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I was mind blown. I wasn't watching that game at all, but I was mind blown when I saw it was 176 to 175 final. I was like, what happened in that game?
I know, man. I really wanted that one team to score 200 just to see that number.
What, it went to double overtime?
Yeah, I think it went to double overtime.
Even for double overtime, that's kind of high though. Usually like a single OT game will even go into like the 130s maybe, and double OT maybe hits like 140s, but 170 for double OT is still crazy.
Yeah, I think the regulation score was like 153 to 153 or something.
Yeah, zero defense being played.
Yeah.
Other
than that, I got nothing.
That's wild stuff. Yeah, that is going to do it for this one though. If you guys enjoyed on YouTube, like we always say, be sure to leave a like, comment. Most importantly, comment and subscribe. We want to hear your thoughts down below, and we also want to hit our goal of 1,000, which we are approaching quickly. Hopefully able to hit that soon. If you guys are on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. See if we can break a third record. 2 episodes ago broke the record for most listens on audio platforms, and then the most recent episode broke that episode's record. Back-to-back record breakers over there. So in a slow time on YouTube, I guess you guys on the audio platforms are really enjoying it. So shout out to you guys. Like I said, kind of the forgotten child over there sometimes on the audio platforms. It's like we focus so much on YouTube and sometimes uploading on Anchor and distributing it to other platforms gets lost in the shuffle because it's not as accessible to like reply to comments or interact with people. But you guys listening over there, if you're still listening, you're killing it. We appreciate it. Drop that 5-star review on whatever platform you are listening on. And yeah, that's going to do it for this one. We'll see you guys next week with more reactions. But most importantly, reactions will be kind of cut down. We'll be giving our predictions for the major. We've had some rough goes in predicting majors and predicting brackets. So we're going to try to improve on that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.